Okay. Well, that was weird. I held the nutmeg solid or stable, and then I don't know. That was weird. Just never done that before. Welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live, and already strange things are happening to me. I don't know why, but we're gonna have fun. We're gonna be talking about 18th century, actually some 16th century, some 17th century, 18th century, even probably a little 19th century. But we're going to have fun with this topic that is so bland in some ways and incredibly exciting in other ways. So I love it when somebody brings up that. Lauren's like, here, do this. Okay, well, why not? What could possibly go wrong? And so I've been reading deeply into the topic of potatoes. You know what I think? I know anyone who doesn't like potatoes? I mean, we might not want to eat them because of particular dietary reasons.
I knew one person who liked them as a gravy carrier. Didn't really care about the potatoes themselves, but they have so many other, like, they are a wonderful gravy carrier. So that's
Let's just fess up. Everyone likes potatoes. Okay, like if you eat them raw, they kind of taste like dirt, but you're not supposed to eat them raw. No. Hello. And of course, we have potatoes in like a gazillion different means and methods and all this good stuff. But potatoes are so really interesting and mysterious, right? So potatoes are one of these new world things. Is there anything I need to cover before we really get into this?
We have a super chat from Mandatory Carrie. Just checking in, saying hi.
Thank you so much for checking in with the super chat. A grandson that won't eat potatoes. There's something wrong with the kid. I mean, I was a picky kid. I ate potatoes. Come on. So potatoes. Potatoes are a new world crop. So they don't exist in Europe before New World contact. And they are from South America, and they are not something that shows up in North American, say, indigenous cultures, right? So they had the Three Sisters, they had squash and corn and beans, but they don't have potatoes. Potatoes are this South American thing. Now, the classic European discovery of America, the continent, 1492. No, we don't know about potatoes. They're not in the Caribbean. The Spanish go down into South America. And the first kind of reference we have to potatoes is written or published in about 1550 or 1555, I can't remember exactly. And it's from somebody who was in South America in the 1530s. Now, when he was there, he was very, very young, like 15 years old. But he had experiences there, and he writes about that, and it's published in 1550s. And he describes these potatoes, papas, batatas, whatever strange names they have for them, and the fact that they eat them, how they eat them, the way they grow in the ground, and all this good stuff. That's the first kind of European reference we have to potatoes. Seems like a while, doesn't it? It's like they've been messing around in South America for 50 years, and we don't even have references to this plant. We don't really see them showing up too much, being talked about, until we have a reference in the 1570s, and it's a hospital ordering some of these potatoes for the sick. They're specifically talking about them being used as human food, and that's kind of an important thing to think about here. And even then, it's a small quantity. And we don't have tons of reference. We don't know a lot about what's going on there, but they're used for food for sick people, apparently. Okay? And then maybe we have some references to Basque fishermen in the 1580s, maybe, using them for shipboard food, which they would make a good they store for a long time. You can, do many different things with them, and so they would make a good ship food provision, let's say, especially because they have some vitamin C in them. So that's a really interesting thing, right, for somebody who has to deal with scurvy and whatnot. Now, we think the link to Ireland has to do with these Basque fishermen, right? So maybe they're taking potatoes up to the west coast of Ireland. There's always this interesting connection between the Irish and the Spanish, which seems in some ways kind of like counterintuitive to me, but there's an obvious connection there. And so we have the potatoes being possibly introduced into Ireland in this time period. And this is very, very important. So there might be connections to these potatoes going to other places, but they're not adapted and not really totally embraced or accepted by the population as anything but a curiosity. But the Irish, of course, being in the situation they are in, the potato becomes very, very important to the Irish culture in the 17th century and becomes a staple by the 1650s. So it is very, very popular by then. So, 50 years earlier, basically nothing. By 1650, 70% of the population is really relying on potatoes as food, and it works out so very, very well for the Irish because they've been pushed into these small holdings. How do you survive on just 3 or 4 acres of land? And they need a very kind of special crop. You can't survive on a grain crop like wheat, where you need big fields. You need something that's very, very prolific. In North America, it would be the corn product, maize, because it's very, very prolific, right? But they don't have that in Ireland. But the potato fills that role almost perfectly. In fact, for their situation, even better. Because one of the things about it is that you don't need the tractors of the day. You don't need horses or oxen to plow. You can just make a mound. You make a hill, a long kind of raised bed. Throw whatever at it, food scraps or whatever as fertilizer, even human fertilizer for that matter. And you can very, very easily grow in their environment these potatoes. And they're very, very prolific. So you can cut a potato up into 4, 6, 10 pieces and grow that many plants out of it. And each plant has multiple potatoes. So it's a lot like corn in that aspect. You put one little kernel of corn in the ground, it grows a plant, and it might have 2 ears with, how many kernels on it. So you get like 100, 200 fold out of a corn plant. Same kind of thing with a potato. You might get 100 potatoes out of a single potato. 10 plants, and each plant having multiple potatoes. So a massive increase in going from one fruit, as it were, one tuber, to all these plants and so much more food. And one of the super great things is that they're underground. You can kind of leave them there for a long period of time. They'll store right where they're grown. And in a situation like in the 1640s, when you have war going through and people are, trying to destroy crops, I'll burn your fields. It's like, yeah, go ahead, burn my field. All my potatoes are underground. What are you going to do? Dig them up? So that's hey, you cooked my potatoes for me. Now I can eat them, right? But so the potatoes are really, really great for the Irish. Now, how do potatoes go from being super prolific and the food crop for the Irish in the 1650s to spreading to other parts of the world. And more specifically, what we're thinking about, what we deal with most is England and North America. What's going on there and how do they get there? So we have references and people talking about potatoes in England in, say, in this time period, but they don't really say too much about them, except that they aren't very good for people. In fact, we have multiple references to people growing potatoes specifically for livestock. I don't think I printed it out, but I was reading it the other day. One person who's just waxing about the potato, how wonderful it was, and how he would boil them for his cattle. And that the cattle gave great milk from the potatoes. The potatoes didn't change the flavor of the milk like some things would. And that when he was worried that the potatoes might be poisoning the cows, whatever, he took the potatoes away and put them on the regular feed, and the quantity of milk went down. It's like, something's good going on here. So he gives them the potatoes back, and of course they produce more milk again. So he finds out that the potatoes are really good for the milk cows. And then later on he talks about the potatoes being good for his pigs too. But for the pigs, he apparently baked the potatoes. So, I thought that was interesting. I did a quick reveal about what's going on with potatoes and feeding them to livestock, because I had never considered potatoes as a livestock food. What? That's what I eat. I don't know, why would I want to give them to my livestock? And then I thought, well, why would I cook them? If I was going to give them livestock, I'd just, chuck the potatoes in there and make them eat them. But when I did the research, I found out that cooking the potatoes for the livestock increased the nutritional, what nutrients were available in the potato. So it would double the food energy in a potato by either baking it or boiling it. And it also removes some of the toxins that you might get from the green potato skin, right? So, but one of the reasons why potatoes isn't really accepted in Europe originally is because they're part of the nightshade group and known to be poisonous. So maybe these potatoes are bad for people, right? And in some cases, if you've got green potato skin, yes, it is bad for people. I'm gonna breathe for a minute. Let Lauren jump in.
Somebody was mentioning earlier, they were saying that if someone has not tried growing potatoes, that they're a great thing to try. And we certainly found that when we had our garden when I was in my teens. I loved the potatoes. They were easy, they were fun to harvest. And it was such a surprise, right? So there they were waiting in the ground. You didn't quite know what you were going to get. You got to dig them. It was like treasure, right?
Right.
And so I really loved that. So if you've never tried potatoes, they are very fun. And they're not hard. There's ways to grow them kind of in containers and like bags, gardening bags, so that if you have limited space, you can do it that way.
Or no space.
Right, or no space at all. That's right.
So how do they get introduced basically from being very, very popular in Ireland into England specifically? Now, I did think that there was a reference to potatoes going to the New World in the 1620s. Now, going to North America, I should say, not the New World, because of course they're from the New World. But potatoes didn't go to North America until they're reintroduced. Basically, they have to go to Europe and then come back to North America. And apparently some potatoes did go down to Virginia in the 1620s. I don't know how adopted they were. And we can get some really confusing language here too. Because potatoes are referred to as potatoes, sometimes they're referred to as Spanish potatoes or Virginia potatoes. And most of the time, and the authors even in the time period were confusing these terms. So the Spanish potato generally means the sweet potato, which was sort of accepted and adopted much earlier than the standard, say, well, let's call it the Irish potato, even though, of course, it's from Ireland, right? Though maybe I should call it the white potato. I don't know. Are they mostly
that might
white?
help.
Although they were different colors, right? So this idea of the purple potato, and that is definitely happening in our time period. But for definitional purposes, let's talk about the Irish potato or the white potato instead of the sweet potato, the red potato. They would call them sometimes Spanish potato. But we have some references to potatoes going to the New World. But I don't think they really get accepted into England until we have Irish laborers coming, especially young Irish men. They would come for like a half a year or 9 months. And they would go from Ireland, they would go on board a ship, and they would go to England to work as basically migrant laborers. Especially in the, was it Lancashire area, something like that. And they would work, and they would be put up in whatever housing and for the farmers, and the farmers would allow them a small area of ground for their own. Like, here's 15 square feet, go for it, whatever you want to do. And they would bring potatoes with them. And wherever they were at, they would, put a little row of potatoes in and start growing them immediately. And that's how potatoes really get, at least as far as we can tell, how potatoes really take off in England. They take off because of these migrant laborers bringing the potatoes with them. And the farmers are like, boy, they're able to produce all kinds of stuff with just this little bit of ground that we give them. And they're just, popping these potatoes out of the ground immediately. So it becomes a crop in that area of England. The farmers go ahead and take that on. And that same thing happens in other areas a little bit later, right? So like the Covent Garden area is in London was where a lot of the produce would get brought in the 18th century. And the Irish and their potatoes are starting to show up in that area because of the people who are growing those truck farms, basically little crops specifically for that kind of market. And the Irish are working in that, and the potatoes come in for that reason. But we still know that in most of those places, the regular well-to-do farmers, they don't think that potatoes are anything but this animal crop. So I'm going to take a breath. We're going to jump in, look at we got a few images to talk about here on our potatoes. We just kind of, a lot of times when we're working on a topic like this, it's like, well, what can we find that sort of says potato for artwork?
There's not a ton, because I do think that it hasn't, in the 18th century, it is just catching on in most of the places that we're looking for art.
Right.
And also it is one of it has a lower reputation, and so it doesn't show up in art as much.
Right. It's not known for being highfalutin.
No, it isn't.
Boom.
Now, I do have a question for you. What's your favorite potato recipe? And like, this is specifically from your childhood, so like.
Well, we ate potatoes in a lot of different ways. And one that I enjoyed that Dan hated was scalloped potatoes. Okay, so I'll eat that all day long. Except I can't now, but back in the day, right?
Even if forbidden fruit, even better.
Right, so that would be the potato of my childhood, but of course, today, the creamy oven potato recipe is just like,
true.
Yeah. So lots of, and this is kind of like a rebaked mashed potato, but like
with
on
cheese
steroids
and sour cream and
like,
green onions.
Could you make it more deadly than that? No, I would.
No, just keep adding something delicious.
Right. So, that's not. No, of course, French fries don't count, right? They're their own thing. And Mom did a killer fried potatoes too.
Yeah, Sydney and I were talking about the other day. Like, I don't know how she made them so incredible. And I'd ask her, and she didn't know.
No.
And I'd watch her, and like, I don't know if it was her pan or the seasoning. I don't know. They were just incredible.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Let's jump into some pictures. This has got to be 19th century.
I don't think so. I could be wrong about the date, but I think this was late 18th century.
Okay. A cat and a dog, the shaft of light, the potato in the basket, and all that. Very, very interesting image. But I mean, when we see people and potatoes interacting, this is the pose, right?
It is. Yeah, you'll see this at least 2 more times.
Yeah.
It's like, it's time to peel the potatoes.
No, isn't that interesting? You know, a lot of times it's like, oh no, don't peel the potatoes. They'll say that today. Don't peel. So that's where all the good stuff is. No, they peeled the potatoes. Now, maybe they had more issues with the green.
Yeah, I would imagine they would have a bit more storage problems. So for safety.
Yeah.
And someone was saying that you can feed the potato peels to the pigs, right? And so they probably weren't wasting them. So, it became compost or food for the animals.
More peeling the potatoes. I like the kitchen there with the indoor pump and the sink right there. A rarity in and of itself. Yeah. But the classic beside the fire doing prep work, children. Lots of work to do, buddy, or ma'am. Anyway, and here we go. We have potatoes and the basket of potatoes along with cheese.
Yeah,
and
I think it's cheese.
Big cabbage leaf, something, who knows what. But could that look any more like today's potatoes? No.
Right? Like they could be a still life from today.
Exactly. Cartoons about potatoes. Rollinson there on the first one with the potatoes, a wheelbarrow with potatoes. I don't know if she's just selling them raw or whether they're cooked. She didn't say they're cooked, so they're probably just somebody's selling their produce in the street. The person beside them selling new potatoes, and notice she's got a set of scales. It's obviously, you can see the set of scales. And I believe if you go back and look on the one on the left, you can see that she also has a set of scales. So she'll hold that up with one hand, put potatoes on the other side. And it seems, complicated to be able to do that. It's how do you hold that up and put the potatoes on one hand and the weights on the other side? That seems very... You need 3 hands for that job.
I bet they got totally used to it, right?
I'm sure.
It's true. Like, I don't think I would want to do it. Like, I would drop the potatoes. I'm quite certain.
Yeah, you would think. It's like, let me just sell you the potatoes, like, per potato, right? Mm-hmm. Or something. But, 4 full pounds for 2 pence. That's what it says over there on the one side, I think.
Yeah.
Again, they're prolific. They're cheap in our time period. And both of these images are, I don't know about the one, but Rollinson's late. It's like 1690s to 1810, something like that. This one might also be Rollinson by the way the looks of the people. I'm not sure, but
this one's Rollinson too. Yep.
Right.
And I think this one was undated, so probably early 19th century at least.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, by the style, it looks a little bit later. It's a little more precise than his typical stuff.
Yeah.
Giant potato sack. And, I mean, this is a huge tub of potatoes. I don't know what the second person is doing. I don't know, but
see, I guess I interpret this as they're washing them, getting them ready for market.
Maybe.
Right? So they can look,
Right. So maybe the little cart over there is, but I don't know why they would bother to wash them, Today, you just kind of rub the dirt off and off you go. Maybe people were pickier back then. I don't know. And I'm not sure what the green things are in the basket.
Cucumbers?
Maybe. Anyway, they're pigs. There's a dog with a really big head. I think I've seen that dog around here. Anyway. No, he was the one that used to visit our house. Remember that?
Yes, the one who you're like,
Yes.
I don't know how he survived. He wandered down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And our road's not that traveled, but
He just went
it has
doop,
poor
doop, doop.
visibility. And he does look very much like him.
Yeah, we can make fun of that dog. This person selling in the market, she's got leeks and I don't know what going on there, and potatoes behind her, basically. The person on the right-hand side peeling a. I only see the one, maybe the basket there under
Yeah.
the table has got more potatoes in it. She's got the classic foot warmer that she has her foot up on. Here is a manuscript, a tally, or maybe it's a bill, like a bill of fare. Do we know?
No, I think
this
it's
is
his
a
bill. Yes.
They bought these things, right? Because it's totaled at the bottom.
Yeah.
This isn't like so much for a dish of, but so many whatevers.
Yes, this
So-
is this guest's bill.
Right. So they got a dish of fish, a couple of fowls, bacon and greens, excuse me, something and mutton, something, neck of mutton, potatoes, jelly, cheese, green and bacon again, wine, something, who knows, and something. I'm going to say the bottom one is fries. They got with fries. Anyway, a pretty big bill, 19 shillings. A lot of stuff there. Wine is what the one thing. I still don't know what the bottom one is. I don't know. Anyway, a bill, and somebody got potatoes. This, I mean, I love the art and the idea that there's a ship and people working. But the sign, the fact that, number one, it's really cool because it's got the sign with this little ship on it. That is neat.
I loved it. I really loved this
Right.
picture.
I mean,
Yeah.
do we know what the date is on this?
It was undated and it was arranged. So I think it could have been anywhere from, I think, really early 19th century
Yeah.
to maybe 1834.
Yes. Yeah, and
it
I'm
looked
guessing.
later to me.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it was
probably in that 1820s, 30s. Anyway, notice the sign that's painted, or the building that's painted as a sign, which we don't see too much of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we see that in the 18th century too much. Could have happened, but Mullins Wholesale Dealer in Potatoes, shipping supplied. I don't. Do they supply the shipping of the potatoes?
Maybe it's both. Maybe they mostly do potatoes and they also.
I don't know, but anybody who's going to, advertise potatoes.
Like
It's
it's
cool.
not general store. It's not like
No, I only
it's
saw
not
potatoes.
produce. Apparently he just has
I
potatoes.
just deal in potatoes, man. That's it. And it's here, on the seashore, basically. And so maybe it's for ships. They're,
That could be. They may be using them as naval
I don't
supplies.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And this is the story is like obviously a 19th century, even probably early 20th century image.
I think this is like 1887.
Okay, yeah, there you go. But it's talking about Frederick the Great of Prussia examining the potato harvest and what's going on with Frederick. So let me hold that in my head a minute. Okay, good. We can jump out. So potatoes start, from early, say, 18th century to the middle or late 18th century, the world of potatoes, especially in England and in other parts of Europe, completely flip-flops. It goes from this isn't really food for people, and in fact, some places it's outlawed and other places it's discouraged, to they're trying to encourage this a lot because of food shortages by the time you get to the late 18th century. The 18th century time period has so many things going on in it. So many great, huge changes in society that when we look at it, sometimes we think, it's 18th century, what could go on? It's like basically cavemen in the 18th century and then today, right? And it's a lot is going on in the 18th century. The movement from agriculture to industrialization and political things going on, and Potatoes. Anyway, so where is that? Let me see if I can find it. This I mentioned the idea of it being outlawed, and I wanted to find out. Yeah, here is a translation of the Decree of Parliament of Paris, and this is 1748. Having seen the petition from the King's Attorney General on behalf of the community of second-hand dealers and rag merchants of Paris, requesting that it please the Parliament to prohibit the sale and use of white and black truffles, commonly called potatoes, which are sold in the halls of the said city and other places, because they provide no nourishment and produce a thick and harmful juice that generates corrupt blood and causes leprosy. Having heard the said Attorney General and Communities Prosecutor, the King's Advocate, present in their council, the Parliament accordingly has ordered, forbidden, and forbids merchants, resellers, and other persons from selling, offering for sale, or distributing for human use the said truffles or potatoes, under the penalty of the usual fine and confiscation of said commodity, and to innkeepers, tavern keepers from serving them to their customers under the same penalties, and to police officers to ensure the execution of this decree. How dare you try to sell these leprosy-inducing potatoes to people?
That'd make me not want to eat a potato.
I don't know who thought what was going on with potatoes. But anyway, by the time you get to the 18th century, they're doing everything they can. At the end of the 18th century, that's the middle. They're doing everything they can to encourage everyone to eat potatoes possibly. Please eat potatoes, please grow them. So the picture there with Frederick. So the story is that he wants to encourage potatoes in Germany or Prussia. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to encourage them? Did you force it? You
make it law. You must grow
right.
this
You have to eat potatoes every day. But apparently, he tries a little bit of reverse psychology.
Well, first he tries the carrot, right?
First
he tries encouraging. Doesn't
First
work.
he's like, "Oh, potatoes are great. You should really," That's how Frederick talked. He used that voice. Anyway, first he tries to encourage people. These are great. I love them. You should eat them too. These are nutritious. Never. Do not want new things, right? All new things. This is new, therefore I reject it. Okay? That's the normal person. So what does he do? He has all these gardens of potatoes planted, and then he has them guarded by
his own royal guard.
By the royal guard. By order, royal decree, don't you dare take any of these potatoes. And then he tells the soldiers, do a really bad job of guarding them. And of course, the people steal the crap out of these potatoes and start planting them everywhere. And the potatoes become very popular. I don't know. It's a great story, okay? Let's just stick with it and say that it's true completely. I don't know how much of that. I know some of it's true. But I love it, and it should be used especially on any high schooler. Don't you take that.
No.
Don't you eat those multivitamins. Those are bad for you. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. Anyway. Whew, that was good. Yes. We've got potatoes. We've got potatoes being purchased. There was some fascinating numbers about how they grow over a time period. From non-acceptance to 50% of the population eating potatoes. So some of these populations rely by 1750 or something, they are relying on the potato, specifically the Irish, and then that really starts to be adopted for other places. Now, there was some confusion, and we still don't know for sure. Some of the recipes and some of the references are talking about sweet potatoes versus the white potatoes. But I did some digging on some of the earliest references to potatoes in English cookery. So we know some of these people in England are like, potatoes aren't food for real people, or they're only food for animals or for poor people, whatever. But there is a reference in the 1660s in a collection of recipes by an English family. And that has a potato recipe, and we think it's the white potato, not the sweet potato. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Now, this was the 1660. I don't know if I can find it. Yeah, like all these things, there's just way too much here. Who would think the lowly potato had so much information about it? Anyway, this family had the potatoes in their recipe book, and then it shows up in The Accomplished Cook. And that's, I think it's Richard May. Anyway, May 1660 and published into 1670. And this is 1671 edition. Probably says the same thing in 1660. He mentions the idea of a potato pie, but he's just like, for this month, you could make a potato pie. And then here is actual recipe for a marrow pie. For the garnish of the dish, make marrow pies like round cheeses. This is really hard to read, but not so high altogether. Blah, blah, blah. Some potato or artichokes cut like sweetbreads, and also enlarded bacon, yolks of hard eggs, nutmeg, of course, salt, gooseberries, grapes, barberries, and some minced veal in the bottom of the pie with some bacon or beef suet, asparagus, chestnuts. Notice chestnuts in here. And they make it up into, this is got to be the most complicated pie recipe on the planet. Anyway, it has potatoes in it. He does mention potatoes. So this is a cookbook. It is English. It is printed in the 1660s, 1670s. So even though most people have not adopted it, this is kind of high-end cookery. So it's probably one of those rare situations where they're going to be using potatoes in high-end cookery. Now, he was trained in France, but obviously we got some places in France that say don't eat potatoes all the way into 1750. So very, it isn't completely rejected. So very confusing about some of that. We're past the halfway mark. Let me jump in there, and somewhere I've got the names of the people that are new and renewing. Oh gosh, papers. They're all again me. I'll find you. Go ahead. Do you have any
Yes,
things
I do have a couple.
Jump in
well,
there.
First, we had a poll. You didn't know this, but we had a poll for the mashed potato and the baked potato. Ended neck and neck, 50-50.
Of course.
Right? Like, or as many people said, you're like, yes.
Yeah, any way you bring them, I will eat them.
And currently we have a new poll, and it's hash browns versus scalloped potatoes, and the hash browns are winning.
Yeah.
But by enough, I think they're going to win. We'll see. We'll see how it. We'll let it sit some. Okay, so I have a couple super chats here. So this one is from, I think it was Benjamin Wheeler. YouTube's doing weird things with the names today. Anyway, it says, thank you for always providing great content. Longtime viewer, do you find there were more recipes in the 1800s for potatoes or sweet potatoes?
Probably regular potatoes. Sweet potatoes, I mean, see, that's the problem. Until you ask that question and then you start digging, you have the answer in your head, but you don't, sometimes you're surprised because it's not right? So,
yeah, some of the recipes, you read them and you're like, I'm not sure this isn't for a sweet potato. And it's not clear. And they will sometimes just call them potatoes.
yeah.
And so when you realize later that was a sweet potato.
Yeah.
So
you got to dig into the context sometimes. Pretty hard. New and renewing YouTube members, Marine Starkey, Badnurik Dan, Cutsy Ibars. I have no idea how to do that. Sorry about that last name. It's Ketniddle. I don't know. Steve Mahaney, Devin Whiteside, probably Sean Allen, Grizzy Oso, David, and then there's Gamut, and then there's Tim Cliffman, K and K plus 3 plus 3. Whew. And then brand new Patreon, James Nugent and David Broman. So thank you, all you wonderful folks that help us continue to do what we do here on the channel, which is spend all our time reading weird things about potatoes. Not all the time about potatoes, but there's a poem from 1796. It's not the kind of rhymey poem, but it's a poem. And he wrote the poem while he was waiting for somebody in like a tavern or an inn. And so he's writing about the tavern or the inn, and he gets to the food. And he says, think also on the luscious fare, my friend, of sweet veal cutlets and of bacon fine, some savory slices, gravy, brown and rich, to enhance the worth of mashed potatoes, that dainty food on which full oft we've fed, which I have ordered and shall soon fall to. Nor deem that all a cheerful, well-made fire, attendance good, good porter too, and ale, slippers, and elbow chair, nay, more than that, a port a pint, to spur the purple tide that circles through the heart, but circles slow. Mashed potatoes.
They never go out of style.
Yeah, and one of the classic. I mean, we've got potato. So on this channel, we've done scalloped potatoes. Ryan did a scalloped potato thing. We've done potatoes made into a cheesecake. We've done potatoes like in a French fry, like curly fries, that are sometimes you gotta look at the interpretation there and see the primitive origins of some of these dishes. Fried potatoes that are sliced, and we did a. What are the other ones, Lauren?
Well, I just put the playlist in. So let me see. Hold on. Let me go to the potato playlist videos. Okay. Potato chips, potato soup, the hash, the potato bread. Delicious.
Oh yeah.
The Cheshire pork pie that has the potatoes in it. The onion pie that has the potatoes in it.
That
Very
really good.
The potato pancakes. The working man's lunch had potatoes in it. The beggar's feed has potato. The Cole Cannon.
Yep.
The Irish dish. Right. You mentioned the little potato cakes. The potato apple pie.
Very interesting.
And the scalloped potatoes, the cheesecake. And so.
Right. And there was the potato. I was thinking about the pumpkin pie with the apples, or the apple and pumpkin. You could put apple, pumpkin, and potato together. That would be the pie, right? So we've got to potatoes, and let's see. Yes, here's some references. I talked about those Irish workers, right? And here is John Holt, 1795. The Irishmen come over in gangs of 20 to 50. They bring their own seed potatoes with them, and in every field where they lodge, they plant a ridge or two for their own use. And here's a similar writing a couple years later. The Irish reapers are here again, and with them their potatoes. They plant them in every square nook and corner, and the people begin to eat them. Very, very. I didn't have a chance to really dig a lot deeper into specifically what was happening, how they get sort of introduced, and where they go in North America from, say, the 1620. Now, I don't think they really, they may have taken off and been used down in Virginia, but I don't think they really go into New England until much later. And in some of those places, it's almost like the Irish, again, bring them into the New World because of the influx of the Irish into North America in the later time periods, although they're coming in as indentured servants. And the nice thing about those potatoes is I mean, they can take that trip easily. Some things might be hard to bring with you, but if they can bring them with them from going from Ireland to England, they can do the same thing, bring them to the New World. And there's a lot of indentured servants and whatnot coming into North America all through the 17th century and in the 18th century. Now, interestingly enough, even though the potatoes are kind of really popular with the Irish, they're not popular with the Scots until much later.
Bad ground?
Bad
Too
ground
cold?
And some cultural resistance to that, and possibly even a religious content. This is a little harder to kind of delve into, but the idea that it isn't a biblical crop, right? They didn't have potatoes in the Bible, so therefore we shouldn't eat them. So there's some rejection of New World things for that very reason. This is the herbal from 1710, something like that. Again, I don't have very much light here to work with. So, but he's specific, 1710, this is an English herbal, and he talks about the three different, it's kind of funny, three different kinds of potatoes. The Spanish potato, the Virginian potato, and the English potato. Right? And the Spanish potato he's got a picture of it here, and it's obviously a sweet potato. And but then he goes on to describe the Virginia potato, which I think is just a puny version of the regular potato. And then English is
the big white
the
potato.
big white potatoes, right? And even though they're not English, I don't know why we call them that.
Well, they too, it does sound like, so there, hold on just a sec.
Yep.
So, Spoon Style Tony sends in a super chat, and it's, did they have the yams versus sweet potato problem, not know which is which, right? And it also seems like with other potatoes, they're calling them different things at different times.
Right. So they have more trouble with, so we call, especially here in Indiana.
Yeah.
Now, in other places, they probably get it right, but it was like, yams are not sweet potatoes, right? Okay? Two different things, but we call sweet potatoes yams. I don't know. I
don't know where that came from.
I don't know either. Anyway, they have a confusion between potatoes and sweet potatoes, and sometimes they'll say potatoes or Spanish potatoes when in fact that's typically the term they used for sweet potato. Depends on who's talking, and you really have to look at the recipe and see how they describe them sometimes, or how they cook with them to decide, although you can do the same things with them. So it's kind of, sometimes it'd be hard to figure out. Here we go. So this is the 1710 herbal English. So let me get down to the bottom here. The leaves are, no, it says they nourish the whole body and restore in consumptions and provoke lust. I don't think that's what potatoes really do, but they thought maybe there was a problem with potatoes. Yeah, here we go. The third, or English or Irish potatoes. They are roundish, tuberous roots, sometimes smooth, sometimes knobby, with various somethings from the smallness of a filbert. We all go, how big is a filbert? To bigger than a large pippin, doubled. It is solid, compact, and so he has to describe what a potato is. Today, nobody's going to describe to you what a potato is.
But this is helpful that he is telling
right.
you what the different ones are like,
Exactly.
because that way we can relate them to our potatoes now.
Right. And he does say something about boiling them and baking them. But unfortunately, I can't find that section. But yeah, here we go. No, that's the leaves of the potato. So, here we go. You may have, therefore, you may have therefrom the baked, boiled, or roasted potatoes, the broth, or something. I don't know. So anyway, we know that they're baking and boiling them and doing that. And so there is some confusing things here. Sometimes it seems like they're not fully adopted, and in other settings, people know exactly what to do with them. So the fact that the herbal had to tell you kind of says that
They're still working on making sure everyone knows what to do with
not
these
totally
unusual.
Obvious about what's going on with potatoes. So what do you guys think about potatoes? Why do we have this weird thing that grows in the ground? We dig it up and we eat it, when most everything else, grows up above the ground. It makes sense.
What about onions?
What about onions? Yeah.
What about carrots?
Yeah, but potatoes are more hidden.
Right, it's like the plant looks like it's just a plant, but lo and behold, underneath it's got all these little. Whereas a carrot, you're like,
it's right there, right? And an onion especially, they kind of almost grow out of the ground, right?
Parsnips.
And they don't keep going. It's not like you grow a carrot and you it's like there's 10 more under there, right? It's like, well, if you keep going, there's more under there.
Okay, so I've got a couple of super chats here. So this one's from Jaji. My college Irish history professor said that you could live on Guinness, potatoes, and a little milk now and then.
Yeah.
It's a base diet for anyone.
That's right.
What more could you ask for? And then this is a super chat from Max Harkle. Happy Friday and Thanksgiving to all in the tavern.
So I imagine we're going to be eating a lot of potatoes. I think there's a recipe, pretty sure. Do you remember the sham turkey potato, or sham turkey recipe?
I don't remember that one specifically.
Yeah, so there's a sham pig and a sham turkey, and the same concept is they would the sham turkey, I believe, was mashed potatoes that you form into a turkey shape.
How did you make the feathers in the tail?
Well, but a baked turkey doesn't have feathers.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I see. So it's not a live turkey, not like the peacocks where they put the feathers back on. No.
So you make this mound and you shape it, and then you bake it, and you put flour on the outside of it, and butter it, and everything, and then it's like, oh, you got a turkey.
Tastes pretty good.
Just mashed potatoes.
I mean, I don't know that I'd be upset.
No, I think it would probably be really, really good. So I'm probably gonna try. Maybe in January we'll have a channel episode on kind of digging into potatoes a little bit more. We'll cover some of the same stuff, and I'll dig a little bit deeper. If there's a particular sections of today's episode that you think need some more digging, go ahead, jump in, especially the comments. Sometimes the chat is hard to.
Yeah, comments would be great. They're
Comments would be
easier
better.
to check
So
afterwards.
that would be good. So think about that. Upcoming episodes. So we just had the episode on the soldier clothing, and we've got an episode coming up on medicine, and specifically soldier medicine in the Revolutionary War. Fascinating, huge, wonderful topic. It's so scary and interesting about what's happening with that. Part of that is in connection with the Ken Burns documentary on the American Revolution. So if you're obviously a fan of what's going on with the American Revolution and you want some more great in-depth documentary work, I would recommend the Ken Burns documentary. That is this Sunday, and the next Sunday is it's just hours and hours of incredible content. So make sure to check that out.
Okay, I have one more
Yes.
super chat. So this is a very enthusiastic thumbs up pair from Puman Fu.
Okay. It's like Pew Man Fu, right? That's like
I
think something like that.
I always have a little trouble, I confess.
I know sometimes it's like, oh, there's a play on words here, or not, and sometimes we miss it because we're in the 18th century. Okay. Sometimes we can miss stuff. Super thank you to everyone who is so encouraging here on the channel. I want to thank Lauren for her work today on this episode. Ivy, of course, making it much easier for everything to happen smoothly here in the Nutmeg Tavern. She's been serving drinks back there. And I want to thank you for coming into the tavern today and enjoying the camaraderie and the drinks and the fire and everything else. It's always... It's you keep me on my toes working here and coming up with new content every single week here in the Nutmeg Tavern. We have switched to the sign here. That also reminds me, we do have some really neat mugs with the sign here. We also have, these are available, right?
Yes.
Got the really cool dragon. A Nutmeg Tavern dragon t-shirt with long sleeves because it's wintertime and you want a long sleeve shirt, or the long sleeved green. This looks black, but it's green with the regular boar, and then with the slightly different cut. What do you call this?
Yeah, that's a feminine cut with the V-neck.
The feminine cut, and this is blue, even though again,
it still looks black, but
it's
it's
got a
navy.
V-neck, and it's you can see better pictures on the website.
Yep.
But if you're interested in that, they make just super gifts, right? Because they're useful, right? It's like, and you can give those to, if the person's not watching, you can order one for them, and or remember that later on. Anyway, Christmas is so hard. I'm doing you a favor, okay? Just get one of those. Thank you for all your insane help with us here on the channel. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for watching.